What's going on YouTube and beyond? This is your homie Chariot Fighter. I run Ominous Truck Co. for Session, and in today's video we are going to go over a couple little quick tips and pointers to help you get more acclimated when you're skating transition. So that's going to include bowls, mini ramps, pretty much anything else, including lip tricks. So without further ado, let's just drop right into it, no pun intended. So as you can see, we're here at Philly. I figured I would use one of the vanilla maps to actually go through specifically the bowl skating more than anything else, because it's going to apply in any other kind of transition setting. But yeah, also just figured I'd be more inclusive to the console rippers out there, the console shredders, console killers, all those homies, since I have access to mod maps, and a lot of people are like, hey, what map are you skating on in my mini ramp clip and stuff. That's a mod map, but just so you know, there will be a couple clips I'm going to include in the video. One of them is going to be at Corporu, which is where that mini ramp is, just to show you kind of that, you know, transition skating is totally possible. You can totally get full lines on a mini ramp, even the one in San Francisco or the pools in San Francisco. This all applies in any kind of transition setting. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start off with my settings, actually, just so you guys can get an idea. Oh, let me make sure I get my controller overlay on for you guys as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the settings so you can see all of my stats. So this is kind of how I have everything set up for bowl skating and transition skating. Kind of, they go hand in hand. So this is going to be something that you're going to probably want to tinker to your own liking. But I tend to crank my banking and turn rate as well as my crouch bank rate all the way up. Here's all my other stats. You can take a screenshot of those if you care. And then the other really important part is going to be your pumping impulse multiplier here. This is going to want to, in my opinion, I think it's best if you just crank it all the way up, because you get the most speed from a pump or from ollieing in transition. And we are going to go over pumping in this video as well. But let me run through these for you so you can maybe take a screenshot of them if you're trying to get something similar, if you like the way my skating looks. And just full disclosure, this is like the 5th time I've recorded this. So yeah, hopefully we knock it out of the park first try this time, and you guys, it helps you guys and everything in your transition skating exploits. So revert settings, grind settings. I'm at like that 2 GA right now, which is challenging. Flip trick settings. Got to get that manual catch. I got quick shoves and late tricks off at the moment. I normally actually run it with late tricks on. It just doesn't really, you can't really do, I mean, I guess you could do late tricks in transition, but I don't know, I haven't really messed around with it too much. Anyway, board settings. This is another thing that you might want to change depending on your preference. I actually normally have this like all the way down, like all the way off. But I noticed that with the amount of speed that you need for a lot of the bank walls, specifically in Philly and like the bowl maps, or if you're trying to get really gnarly on one of the mod maps like Leaside, you have to kind of adjust this to the park that you're actually skating or the map that you're skating on. So I actually have mine turned up a little bit so that it slows me down enough when I'm kind of hauling ass into a transition wall to actually get up onto the coping and stay on the coping instead of overshooting the coping. But again, it's going to be circumstantial based off the map that you're on. Here is my front truck and back truck tightness. I saw a video that Pigeon Thief just released, probably in the last week or two, where he showed his truck tightness off, and he actually has his front truck lower, his back truck tighter, because you're going to be actually turning more with your front truck. But, you know, again, this is going to be personal preference. I like my back truck to be a little bit looser because I like the pinch that you get on like a Smith grind or a Feeble grind, or if you're a Tony Hawk Pro Skater guy, a Monty grind, whatever the fuck that is. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, it's going to be user preference ultimately. But yeah, that's pretty much all the settings. And then the other really important part, specifically when it comes to transition skating, is going to be enabling lip tricks. So that's going to be in your experimental menu in the main pause menu. So just go down to experimental and make sure you got that lip tricks enabled. This is going to be what Creature actually implemented with 1.0. This is going to allow you to do nose slides, tail slides. It's going to allow you to do crooked grinds. It's going to allow you to do Smiths, Feebles, pretty much any kind of grind that's already in the game you can do using this system. It can get a little squirrely. It's a little bit different than, like, say, if you're wanting to pop an ollie into your tricks, which is also totally possible. And in the clips that you're going to see later on, you'll see a couple ollies into tricks and stuff that I've done. But ultimately, just turn this on if you're going to be transition skating. It's actually really fun once you kind of get the hang of it and you get the timing down. And yeah, so with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. I'm going to go ahead and start off in this bowl right here, just to kind of give you guys the basics. Now, I do have my camera really straight on at the moment. I found that it just makes it a little bit easier when you are transition skating if the camera's not offset to one side too much. But again, that's going to come down to preference. If you prefer having a little bit more of an offset, then, you know, your camera is going to be your prerogative. I will show you my camera settings really quick as well, just so you can see, but my horizontal offset is all the way off at the moment. But yeah, normally I have this probably like about right there. But just for the purposes of transition skating, and the amount of attempts that I've had to do these videos, and the tricks that I was actually trying to do, it just made it a lot easier to actually have the camera just dead center on homeboy here. So I'm going to show you how to like drop in real quick. This is going to be kind of your preference as well. But if you want to do like a traditional drop in, right? Like where you are positioned on the coping on your tail, and then you actually drop in the way you would on like a mini ramp, a half pipe, or a bowl in real life. The way I do it, you can be moving when you do this, or you can be stationary and just load up in the pocket. If you can see my controller overlay there, I'm loaded up to the left. It's going to pop you in the direction of the actual bowl. So I'm going to do that, and then it's a little squirrely. You kind of have to get the positioning right. Let's try it right here. All right. So that's not particularly realistic, but that's kind of the idea that you're going for. Basically, just going to pop towards the bowl, get it into a tail stall, and then to actually drop in, depending on which direction you're facing, you're going to basically either hit the right bumper or the left bumper. In this case, if I hit the right bumper, I'm going to do something weird like that. If I hit the left bumper, if I can get him into the stall again here. There we go. Okay, and if I hit the left bumper, drops in, right? So that's kind of like your basic drop-in. If you wanted to maybe carve into it, you can totally do that as well. You're going to use the lip trick functionality, which we will cover right here, actually. You're basically going to load up a 50-50 stance before you actually approach like a transition wall, or in this case, the coping. This might be a little awkward because of the angle we're at, but see, that's a blunt, and then left bumper, boom, I'm in the bowl. And now we're skating, right? Pumping, and a fall. So that's one way to do it. You know, you can kind of play around with this. Speed is kind of your friend on that as well. And this is not actually the most ideal spot to actually try to more or less try to do a running start into it. You can actually try to skate this giant half pipe here, it tends to not work. I've found, because that happens a lot. Because it's, I don't know, this just, I'm assuming has to do with there being no actual vert in the game. It's just like set up for the bowls and the mini ramps and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can try to skate this. If you can get into the transition, then normally you can at least pump around and do a couple pop tricks, like so. So, garbage, but yeah, we're going to focus on the bowls, though, for now, because everybody's got access to this map, and this map can be really fun once you kind of get the hang of the flow of it and everything. So, we got the drop-ins down, we got the basics of the lip tricks down as far as the input that you're going to actually want to do. But then when you actually get into the transition and the skating inside of the bowl or whatever pipe that you might be in, that's where pumping and kind of all of those settings that we went over in the intro of the video are going to come into play. So I'm going to show you real quick like how to pump around a bowl. We're just going to ollie into it for this one. So you notice I'm actually pumping like going into the transition and coming out of it. So that was bad. But this is why I have my turning speed or my bank rate and all that stuff up really high, because when you're in a bowl, you know, you kind of want to get up on the wall of the bowl, on the actual vert wall, and if you have your turning rate too low, then it's actually really hard to get up there and do a really smooth looking turn. But you know, I'm kind of like loading the pump as I'm coming into it and then pumping on my way out, and then it allows you to kind of really kind of shred it if you want, you know, and it's really fun just to kind of cruise around the bowl, even if you're not doing a bunch of tricks, but just to kind of cruise around and kind of carve the bowl up a little bit. This is a lot of fun. It can be a little squirrely, you know, and that's going to come down to, again, your board settings and your bank rate and all that stuff comes into play here. But look at my controller overlay, what I'm kind of doing here. I'm kind of pumping in, turning, and then pumping while I'm halfway through the transition. And you will slow down sometimes, you know, it really is a game of precision here. Sometimes lighter motions on your triggers to turn is kind of going to be your friend. So that was kind of a light pull on my left trigger there to kind of get through that. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of it as far as the pumping and everything goes. Think of it as you would do in maybe like a real life situation. You kind of want to pump going in and then pump coming out. Pump going in and then pump coming out. And you'll kind of maintain your speed. That's also another thing too. It's a kind of a rule of thumb in real skateboarding to not use your feet. You know, you don't want to push inside of the bowl necessarily, but at the same time, it's your, you know, it's whatever your style is, whatever you're into, do what you want. But generally speaking, traditionally, it's kind of a rule of thumb to not push while you're actually in a bowl. So that's where the pumping is definitely going to come into play. That's where that pump force multiplier setting is going to come into play. And this is kind of what you're going to end up being able to do. Kind of just ripping around, you know. I mean, you might lose a little bit of speed, but you can get it back up if you're just persistent. Sometimes you might need to reset. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the basics of it as far as really getting in the bowl and getting around the bowl. Now, if you want to do like a carve while you're actually doing that, yeah, we're just gonna ollie back into it. And that's going to be the actual lip trick functionality, what I just did. See, I just broke the cardinal rule. I pushed. Oh no, what are we going to do? I pushed. You know what? Get over that. I would say, like, don't sweat it if somebody, you know, roasts you in the comments if you have to push once or twice in a bowl. It is what it is. It's a game. You know, have fun with it. you can do it without pushing. You can even do things like, technically, like spine transfers on the right kind of obstacle. It just depends, though, you know, like, and it's this, as far as the lip tricks go, it's really timing based. And you're basically either going to use a combination of this input and your triggers while letting off one of the sticks. So, like, for instance, if I wanted to do a tail slide, I would put this input in as I'm entering the transition, and in the direction that we're going at the moment, I would start to turn, and I would basically let off my front foot and turn. So let's see if we can actually hit a tail slide real quick. It's a little tricky. It takes some you know, trial and error and a couple tries sometimes. But that's kind of, again, where your pumping is going to come into play, where those settings are going to come into play, and then just a lot of practice. You know, that's the thing. I put in a lot of hours in this game just in general before it came out, before it fully released. I had the early access, all that stuff. So I spent a lot of time, especially after the update that we got before 1.0 that actually added pumping and stuff. I spent a lot of time in Philly just cruising around the bowls and kind of messing around just to kind of get a feel for it, you know, and it was before the lip tricks were even implemented. And I found it to be a lot of fun then, and now that the lip tricks are actually in, it's super fun because you can actually, you know, do like real tricks. And then you can also ollie the tricks, kind of like I just did there, even though I fell. But let's see if we can. There's a little spine transfer for you. So we can get this line kind of going here. Yep, no, we're not. So, but that's the thing, you know, it's not perfect, and you have to just kind of keep that in mind. Similar to the wall ride video I already put out, if you guys check that out. Basically, that's not even an implemented trick in the game, technically speaking. However, the physics of the game kind of allow you to do it, right? This is implemented into the game, but it's not a finished feature, so you have to kind of basically take everything with the transition skating with a little bit of patience tied to it. You have to understand that it's not fully featured yet, right? Because I have a feeling that the studio is going to end up kind of improving this and maybe even adding some kind of vert functionality. There were grabs in the game before like this last update, before 1.0, and there's actually a way to re-enable grabs in the game by using a specific mod. If you use Chewy's Gimme All My Stuff Back mod, it actually takes away the lip trick setting in the experimental menu, and it puts it back to what it was before the 1.0 update, which actually allows you to do grabs. They're really janky and they look like shit, so you know, I wouldn't even recommend doing that. Plus the Gimme All My Stuff Back mod, I didn't even find that it worked. No shade towards Chewy, he makes amazing mods, but just saying, like, I've kind of tinkered around with it a couple times and couldn't get it to necessarily work, where I like had all of my stuff, like all of the DIY stuff and all this stuff, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it, man. I mean, it's really not super duper complicated. It's really more about understanding how pumping works, like in real life, definitely helps. But if you're not like kind of privy to that information, if you've never actually skated any kind of transition in real life, the main thing you're going to want to do is remember that when you're approaching the transition wall, so like if you're actually approaching, we'll do it on this big one here. If you're approaching this wall here, you're going to pump coming in, you're going to pump coming out, right? You're going to pump going in, pump going in, maybe pump halfway up. And this little running trick too, if you're just trying to get like single clips, a lot of times you're going to get more speed. But it allows you to do some cool shit, you know? So that's pretty much it though, you know. It's if you're trying to actually maintain like a consistent line while in transition, it's really just a matter of timing your pumps correctly, It's a matter of maintaining a certain level of speed. That's going to always be your best friend in this. I mean, like, you can kind of see what's happening, right? Like, it's really just a matter of timing your pumps correctly. It's a matter of the amount of speed you have going into a certain obstacle and certain transition wall. But you can get really creative with this. You know, I've already seen some pretty advanced transition lines, way more advanced than what I'm able to do. You know, on the other map that I was playing on that you may have seen the clip of in the mini ramp, you know, I had like a full probably 3 or 4 tricks that I was able to do in that line. And it's basically just from having practiced and practiced and practiced. Oh, and that reminds me, I forgot to do the, to show you guys how to like ollie into a trick. So we'll start back up here. So to ollie into a trick, it's similar, but it's just a little bit different. The timing is going to be a little different. And it also is going to depend on the obstacle that you're actually trying to skate. So whatever kind of transition that you're doing. So there's a little spine transfer again, but it's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm actually trying to just get into like a nose blunt or something. So you're actually going to kind of use the pocket for this again. So that was really glitchy, but that's kind of the idea though. Like, you're basically trying to ollie about, we'll say like about, if, you know, right where my neck is here, if that's the coping, you're going to try to ollie about halfway to that point. So basically kind of where my feet are, maybe a little bit above. And you're going to kind of use the pocket depending if you're coming front side or back side. So like, this is going to be difficult to actually get up on something this tall without doing something like that. So let's see if we can do something on this wall here. A lot of this stuff too, it's just a matter of like almost like impossible timing. Like, you have to just have really good timing because the camera is going to fight you a little bit. Just the way the camera works in this game, it's going to fight you just a little bit. And it's kind of like reading the obstacle that you're actually trying to skate. You know, you have to kind of get an idea of, so like if I want to do something on this piece of coping from this side, I kind of have to know when and where to turn, how much pressure to apply to the triggers to turn into it. And that's where this stuff can get like kind of more advanced, you know? Like, that should have been it. I think it just kind of glitched out. I mean, that was almost it. Even if we can just get like a tail stall or something. We kind of did a bonk, but that's not what we wanted, right? That'll get you more speed too. Like, ollieing into a bank or ollieing into transition will definitely get you more speed. Let's actually try it on this side. This is normally a pretty decent little spot to try stuff on, here in Philly at least. So I'm actually pumping off of that little roll-in right there. So it's better if I go from this angle. This is how I get clips here. Actually, let's start right here. Start right here, turn into it. So you can kind of load that pocket up when you're trying to do like flip tricks into it. Something like that, but you know, do an actual trick instead of just fall. But that's how you're gonna do, like, you know, big disasters, like popped out disasters, nose blunt stalls. You can do nose blunts and blunts using the lip trick,
system, it's just really hard. I probably haven't managed to actually get one successful like blunt stall using the lip tricks. So it's just one of those things, you know, it's going to come down to user preference. It's always going to come down to practice. But I mean, as you can see in this last little bit here when I was talking, I managed to actually get into a pretty fat nose blunt here. A little, what would that be? I guess that would be a back nose blunt, right? Yeah, it'd be a back nose blunt. It registered it as a Suski, and it did slide a bit more than I wanted it to. But I mean, that's fine, you know, like, it ends up still looking pretty cool, and it's more or less what I was actually trying to do. Now, the thing is, too, with the bumps, like when you're bumping back in with the bumpers, they're not always entirely, like, accurate. So, again, that's going to kind of come down to timing more than anything I've found. Like, how quickly you bump back in after you actually manage to lock into something. And yeah, I mean, I would say I'm like relatively good at this, and like it still takes multiple tries to accomplish anything. So just keep that in mind. You know, if you're struggling with it, just understand that again, it's not a fully baked feature just yet, but it's got a lot of potential for sure, and it can be really fun. Like I said, even if you're just kind of carving around, it can be super fun to just kind of blast through. It makes for good B-roll, you know, if you're making like edits and stuff. See, that was odd. That was awkward. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the gist of it. You can do a lot of stuff in this, though. You know, it takes a little bit of practice. It takes a lot of patience, and it takes a good bit of precision. I'd say this is more like advanced as far as like understanding kind of the inputs and everything too. I'm like when and how to pump and all that. So like I pump going in, and then I'm kind of pumping when I'm up here. Pump going in, pump coming out. Pump going up, and I fall. Pump going down, pump out. That was garbage. Pump. A good wall to practice on too in Philly is this one right here. This is how I actually learned how to even do that little sequence of inputs before the transition stuff was kind of fully cooked. This wall right here can be a lot of fun, and I've actually done like a wall ride Wally kind of thing on this pillar. If I can, I don't think I have the clip anymore because my computer crashed a few months ago, unfortunately, but I think it's in an edit somewhere. And this wall right here can be really fun, and you can do all sorts of like carves and slashes and stuff on it. But it's really good to practice on. So I mean, for front side and for back side, you can get some serious speed. You can see this one can be fun too. I hit a big 50-50 on this one. And if you are really trying to get wild, you can do this bad boy. And you can see like kind of how squirrely things can get. But you know, this is all about the pumping. You know, it really is all about the pumping. Yeah, guys, I mean, I think that'll pretty much wrap this up. I'm open to doing maybe more in-depth tutorials on this kind of stuff, but I mean, this is really the basics of it. This is how you're going to be able to really accomplish most, if not all, transition skating in the game, at least at this point. So definitely hit like if you like this video. Definitely, you know, throw a subscribe my way if you don't care. If you like this kind of content. It's not really my main kind of content. I normally just post edits and like my shit posts and stuff. So, but if you do enjoy this kind of stuff, you know, leave it in the comments. Let me know if there's anything else that you maybe want some pointers on, whether it's modding or you know, anything like that, or just kind of like different approaches to even street skating. You don't have to, you know, I don't just skate transition. I do plenty of street skating as well, and I run a team, so it is what it is. Yeah, just let me know what you guys thought about the video, though. Hit it up in the comments, hit the like button, all that shit. And I appreciate you watching. Stay ominous out there, and I'll catch you in the next one.